Hello and welcome to Inside the Summit League. Got the hoop highlights of the week coming up, including a phenomenal shooting display put on by Morgan Van Riper Rose at Denver, a new school record for her. And the December Summit on the Street interviews, dishes about Christmas wishes, and favorite holiday things to do with our very creative and thoughtful student athletes in the Summit League. But up first, this year marks an anniversary of note in the Summit League. It was 10 years ago that Tom Duple took over as league commissioner. Couple little known facts: he owns a restaurant in a little town in Texas. He was a long-haired track star back in his college days in the early 1970s, and he has guided the Summit League through some monumental changes in the last decade. Tom Duple has been around, professionally and geographically. Home right now is near the Summit League offices in suburban Chicago, but he is from the East, and he went south to be a college student athlete.
I was a distance runner. I ran cross country and track at LSU, the 2-mile, 3-mile, so it was fun. I'm from Hershey, Pennsylvania, and matriculated down to LSU. Get tired of running 100 miles a week in the winter, and so I decided I'd maybe try the south down there, and it was great. That's the one thing that attracted me to LSU. I happened to go down there in March, and I look around, the azaleas are all blooming. They have a great stadium, basketball arena, football stadium. They had their own athletic dorm, with the training meals. So it was a lot of comparisons, in today, but it was just a great experience.
Duple says he was like a lot of athletes coming out of high school today. He wanted to see what was out there beyond the borders of his home state, and he definitely took an extended look around.
I had an opportunity to go to 62 different schools, and back then it was unlimited visits, so I was visiting all different kinds of schools. And now it's only limited to 5. You have to narrow it down, but it was good, and I made the right decision to end up there. And I love LSU, and those tiger stripes run deep.
He ended up staying in Louisiana and coached and taught for 8 years at a high school in Baton Rouge, and he eventually landed as an assistant athletic director at LSU. He then spent 9 years as the athletic director at Southeastern Louisiana and 5 years at Southern Utah. And in his time there in 2004, Duple was part of a group that started the Great West Football Conference, which at one time or another was home to South Dakota State, North Dakota State, and the University of South Dakota as those schools made their transitions to Division I. Omaha was later an affiliate member of the Great West as well. But Duple was the innovator who basically wrote the bylaws and set the schedules and created the Great West. His 35-plus years of administrative experience has allowed Duple to guide the Summit League with a steady hand through what's been a tumultuous 10 years. For one thing, the Summit League wasn't even the Summit League when Duple took over in 2005. He was in charge of one of the league's most notable changes since it started back in 1982, leading the transition and the name change from the Mid-Continent Conference to the Summit League. And just since that change in 2007, league membership has shifted dramatically as well. Centenary and Southern Utah and Kansas City and Oakland have all moved on, but Fort Wayne and South Dakota State, North Dakota State, South Dakota, and Omaha and Denver have all moved in.
We have 9 solid schools right now. Our presidents and chancellors have really bought into that. There's not this angst of where they're going to go anymore. They just recently passed where, our exit fee is now raised to $1 million. That's a statement.
And for Duple, his statement or stamp on this league has been that of a steady climb as well. His has been a career path and a mindset that in a lot of ways has mirrored the Summit League in the last 10 years. Stay steady, stay the course, don't get rattled, and throw in a little philosophy and a good analogy every once in a while.
You set your goals, and you have that little goal, and you put it on your flag, and you put that flag on top of the mountain, and every day you just take those steps going up that mountain. And it's not strewn with flowers, and it's not a great roadway. There's a lot of hurdles, and folks throwing rocks at you as you're going up through the mountain, but you've got to stay steady at it. And we did, and we got up on top of that mountain, and we got to the summit, pun intended. And you know, we saw that we survived. We hit that goal. And you know what you see up on top of that mountain once you're there? You see a higher mountain with new goals. And that's what we're trying to do, is we keep steadily trying to get to the summit of these mountains with new goals.
And our thanks definitely to the commissioner. We will see what he has in store in the next couple of years. His current contract, by the way, runs through 2017. Well, coming up next, the week in men's basketball. Maybe not huge, but some pretty big wins over the weekend for Oral Roberts and North Dakota State.
Inside the Summit League on Midco Sports Network is presented by Grand Falls Casino and Golf Resort and Dakota Land Honda. Inside the Summit League on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Health and your Heartland Chevy dealers.
Well, it's been a wild couple of weeks for the defending men's basketball champions at North Dakota State. The Bison went on a trip to Montana State, won that game, came back to Fargo, then went to Southern Mississippi and took a loss down there. Came back home, went and back out and played the University of Montana, and then they came back home on Saturday and beat their in-state rival, North Dakota, even though the Bison had a short bench after all these long road trips.
We played 6 guys for the most part. The other night against a North Dakota team that obviously I think they would tell you too that they didn't probably have their best performance of the year, but I'm not going to take anything away from our kids. I'm very pleased that they executed a game plan, and anytime you can win a game like that in front of your home fans, that means a lot to a lot of people. Very, very pleased.
Well, the Bison came out hot in that game against North Dakota, shot 73% in the first half and led 43-19 at halftime. Corey Brown led NDSU with 18 points. Lawrence Alexander is second in the league in scoring right now at just over 17 a game. He had 14 in this one. And sophomore Dexter Werner had a big night for NDSU, 17 points and 6 rebounds for him. And then look at Brown finish off this drive, and it was going North Dakota State's way. The Bison beat UND by 29, 71-42. Well, New Mexico State went to the NCAA tournament last year. They are somewhat of a named program, even though they play in the WAC, which is well below the summit in the conference RPI right now. But anyway, we are still calling this a good win for Oral Roberts. In Tulsa on Saturday, Obi Omegano was 5 of 10 from the field, 14 of 18 at the free throw line, on his way to 24 points. Corey Bilberry adds 21 for the Golden Eagles. And New Mexico State had 6 guys in double digits in this game, but Oral Roberts scores 54 points in the second half, and they win it by 3, 86-83. The Eagles shoot 56% in this game after being downright lousy shooting the ball in the last couple of weeks.
We were ranked 345th in the country in field goal percentage coming in, and out of about 355, maybe less than that. I'm not sure how many Division I teams there are now, so obviously we've been struggling shooting the basketball, and you know, we hadn't been at home for 4 weeks. You're going to shoot the ball better.
And they did, and there are 351 Division I teams in college basketball, by the way. Meanwhile, in Macomb on Saturday, Western Illinois hosting Alabama State. Jabari Sandifer had 11 points, 7 rebounds, and 8 assists for the Leathernecks. Garrett Covington puts in 18 points, including 3 threes. Western made 8 threes in the ballgame. And Muhammad Kandi adds 14 points and 8 rebounds. Western Illinois beats Alabama State by 10, and Western is now 4-5 on the season. IUPUI, meanwhile, is 2-8 in its first 10 games of the year. The Jags taking on Eastern Kentucky. Big freshman Aaron Brennan hammering that down. He had 11 for IUPUI. Mason Archie leads the Jags with 12 points and 7 assists, but Eastern Kentucky takes this game 73-64. And South Dakota is showing some promise in the early season under new head coach Craig Smith. The Coyotes go to Omaha and take Creighton to double overtime. Brandon Boss had 23. Trey Burnett had 24 for USD. And Tyler Larson with 25 points for the Coyotes. Larson hit a 3 in regulation to send it to overtime, tied at 65. Trey Norris hits a 3 at the end of overtime to tie it at 76. But the Yotes can't quite pull off the big upset. Creighton survives and wins it 91-88. Well, up next, the week in women's hoops.
Inside the Summit League on Midco Sports Network is presented by Grand Falls Casino and Golf Resort and Dakota Land Honda. Inside the Summit League on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Health and your Heartland Chevy dealers.
Well, now to women's basketball. Omaha has a new coach this year. The Mavericks still have a year before they complete their Division I transition and become eligible for the postseason. And they are 5-5 so far this season after a split at home over the weekend. Well, California State Bakersfield is picked to win the Western Athletic Conference in women's basketball this year. And the Roadrunners were 6-1 before they came to Omaha last Thursday. But the Mavs get hot from the start. They shoot 58% for the game, and Omaha puts 5 players in double digits. Felicia Anderson off the bench with 12. Michaela Shaw had 13 points and 14 rebounds for Omaha. And then a great move here by Brianna Bogard. She leads Omaha with 17 points, and the Mavericks take down Bakersfield by a dozen, 80-68. Well, Bogard had 17 again the next night out for Omaha, but the Mavs could not get the W this time against Southern Illinois Edwardsville. Pretty good team from the Ohio Valley Conference. Freshman Remy Davenport knocks down 3 threes and scores 11 off the bench for Omaha, but the Mavs only shoot at 26% for the game, and they drop this one to Edwardsville 69-54. In Tulsa, meanwhile, disappointing loss for Oral Roberts taking on Grand Canyon University, another team from the Western Athletic Conference. Big differential in three-point shooting. Oral Roberts just 2 for 20 on the long ball in this one. Grand Canyon, meanwhile, makes 9 of 25 from the three-point line. Oral Roberts senior center Vicky McIntyre totals a triple-double, 14 points, 16 rebounds, and 10 block shots, but the Eagles lose the game by 3, 54-51 final. And Western Illinois taking on Bradley. Sophie Reichelt battling for the board. She had 10 rebounds and 10 points for the Leathernecks. Ashley Luke had a double-double just in the first half of this game, and Western had a 7-point lead at halftime. Luke pours in 25 points and grabs 16 rebounds, and Western Illinois beats Bradley 75-63. Well, up next, Summit on the Street. We've got some funny and sometimes poignant and some heartwarming stories from student athletes as the holiday season draws near.
Inside the Summit League on Midco Sports Network is presented by Grand Falls Casino and Golf Resort and Dakota Land Honda. Inside the Summit League on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Health and your Heartland Chevy dealers.
Welcome back. So how do you handle the holidays right now if you are a college basketball program? You got kids and coaches coming and going and practices and games and Christmas right in the middle of it all. Here is how they are going to try and handle it at Omaha.
Well, for Thanksgiving, for instance, it was one of the first Thanksgivings that we were all home for, and we wanted to do that scheduling purposes wise this year, and I had the team over and hosted my first Thanksgiving this year, and I think that was really special to them. We have a lot of players from the West Coast and down south, and we want to make sure that they're getting that same family experience. And like Brianna said, it's not a show by any means, and it's not forced upon. Our girls are very close, our staff is very close. And so we really try to make a point that we keep everybody close together for the holidays, but try to respect their time with their families since it is such a long season. So we will have a Christmas party next week and celebrate that as well.
Well, it's hard. I never want to practice on Christmas, no matter our schedule. I always want to give them the next day to get back and then practice the evening of the 26th if we can. We're fortunate this year that our last game was on the 21st. So we can get something quickly done early morning of the 22nd and then get kids to the airport and or get them driving home. Hopefully they're very thankful for the opportunity. It's always hard when kids maybe can't get home, but they understand the situation, but we give them as much time as possible, but it doesn't always work.
It's a nice break, but you have to make sure that you're teaching the kids some maturity and understanding that it's a great break and it was for a certain reason. It's going to get them refreshed, but when they come back, it's no time to take off, and you've got to get back in a serious mode, ready to compete for conference play.
It is a lot to juggle for these programs at this time of year, especially. And that brings us to the Summit on the Street. This is our segment starring student athletes and coaches who reveal their favorite Christmas and holiday stories.
So with Christmas coming up, Alicia, what is your favorite gift you've ever got for Christmas? I think my favorite gift I ever got had to be my little red boots that I got when I was probably 5.
Has to be my beatbox. It's like a big speaker by Dre Beats. I like it a lot. I use it a lot.
I think when I was about 11, I got like a flat screen TV when they first came out.
My favorite Christmas gift was definitely a hermit crab until it pinched me and gave me a blood blister.
Is it still alive?
My cat ate it.
A couple years ago, I got an iPad for Christmas, and that was probably my favorite.
Santa gave it to you, or was it your parents?
Probably Santa.
Probably a basketball.
Favorite Christmas present? I'd have to say when I was in 6th grade, we got one of those indoor hoops for the basement. Yeah.
And that's why you can shoot the way you can.
Sure.
What is your favorite Christmas time tradition?
My family comes together and we all make tamales and pozole together and have a little dinner.
Food. I love food. I love eating. My mom cooks, my uncle cooks, so you know they're great cooks. So I definitely love food. You know, it probably makes me happier than I want basketball. So.
We have a big meal, and then we open presents on Christmas Eve, and then our stockings Christmas morning.
Going over to my grandma's house, just like the whole family coming over there, having a big slab of food, just everywhere, desserts, family, watching football, basketball, whatever it may be, just hanging out with family.
We go up to my cabin and we ice fish and snowmobile, and most of the time get the snowmobile stuck, but that's the best part.
Probably just that Christmas Eve family get together, you know, everybody's making the food, they bring it over, aunts, uncles, everything.
We always go to Minnesota for Christmas. All the relatives gather together. We have a big Christmas Eve dinner. Just hang out with the family and have a good time.
Favorite Christmas time tradition, probably gingerbread houses.
I would say Christmas Day, we'd all go to my cousin's house, his ranch, and we'd go snowmobiling with all my mom's side.
Getting presents, because I get presents for Christmas and my birthday. My birthday's on New Year's Eve, so I get presents for both, so that seems like a good tradition.
Practice with the team on Christmas, and then Christmas with them afterwards.
What is your favorite Santa Claus memory?
I remember when I was younger, I was in my bedroom laying down, and I heard the bells and everything right from my window, and then I waited for them to leave, because obviously I thought Santa would be like putting the stuff under the Christmas tree, and so I got up and I like snuck over to the Christmas tree to see if he was there, and I like saw someone laying on the couch, and I'm forever convinced that was Santa Claus.
Best Santa Claus memory. Well, every Christmas Eve, my grandpa would dress up as Santa, and he would get all the kids involved, and he would always throw some humor in it. So I always had a really good time with that.
What is your favorite Santa Claus memory as a kid?
I think when I was about 6, I got this piano, and it made a lot of noises, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. So you couldn't tell me nothing walking around the house with my piano in my hand.
My best Santa Claus memory, I was like in the 1st grade, and I went to go sit on Santa's lap, but Santa was really skinny and smelled funny, and it like really threw me off. So that's like my most memorable Santa Claus memory, because I asked my mom about it, and she was like, he hadn't had his cookies this year.
Probably just, you know, waking up with my brother and sister, running down to the Christmas tree and seeing what Santa brought us.
My favorite Santa Claus memory as a kid was when I got my basketball court and they said it was from Santa Claus, and I was just super happy that Santa Claus got me a basketball court. It was my first basketball court ever having.
What is your favorite Christmas movie or show?
Definitely Elf.
Good choice.
Elf. Buddy the Elf.
Santa Claus is Coming to Town, just a classic.
It's a Wonderful Life.
My favorite Christmas movie as a kid is Nightmare Before Christmas.
Favorite Christmas show? I guess our family would always watch Christmas Vacation. It's a funny one.
Well, coming up next on Inside the Summit League, a triple-double for Vicky McIntyre at Oral Roberts, a record-setting three-point night for Morgan Van Riper-Rose at Denver, and the Players of the Week coming up next.
Inside the Summit League on Midco Sports Network is presented by Grand Falls Casino and Golf Resort and Dakota Land Honda. Inside the Summit League on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Health and your Heartland Chevy dealers.
Well, Morgan Van Riper-Rose is a senior at the University of Denver, and she had a night to remember last Monday at home against Air Force. Made 4 threes in the first half and then 6 more in the second half. She goes 10 for 13 in the game and sets a new school record with those 10 made threes. 32 points in the game as Denver rolls to a 107-66 win, and the Pioneers ended up making 19 threes as a team that night. And for Van Riper-Rose, sounded like a senior, very mature and giving credit to her teammates when she talked about it the next day.
We have some unbelievable three-point shooters from top to bottom. We have freshmen that can shoot, sophomores, juniors, seniors. So I think that our staple of our team is kind of our shooting. So last night it was nice to get out there and see just how hard we work on it and to actually see it turn into performance and results. I think more than anything, it was just important for me to get back on track. The first few games this season I haven't shot very well and came back in a big way, but it was definitely just awesome to get my confidence back.
Well, congratulations to Morgan. And how about this for crazy? Nicole Rogers at IUPUI went one better just 3 nights later. Rogers made 11 threes in a win over Indiana Kokomo. That is a new IUPUI school record. Well, those two shooting performances come in a week where Vicky McIntyre at Oral Roberts had that triple-double in a loss to Grand Canyon, but she and Van Riper Rose and Rogers all get bumped for Player of the Week honors by Ashley Luke at Western Illinois. 25 points, 16 rebounds against Bradley, 19 and 12 against Eastern Illinois. This is the 8th Player of the Week honor for Luke and her 2nd so far this season. And her schoolmate is the Men's Player of the Week. Garrett Covington had 27 points in a win over Idaho, followed that with 18 in a Western Illinois win over Alabama State. Lots of good games coming up this weekend before the Christmas break. Check them out. We'll see you next week on Inside the Summit League.